guys, welcome to ANX Quickcast, a 10-minute recap of the latest gaming updates, anime news, and TV series. On today's episode, we're reviewing Agatha All Along, Season 1, Episode 1, Seekest Thou The Road. I'm Unbiased Anne, I'm here with Genesis.
What up?
How's it going?
It's going.
It's been a minute.
Yeah, Quickcast. It's supposed to, we're supposed to do these all the time because it was so quick, but then we've been doing conventions and then we've been doing this and been doing that. We've been kind of busy. We tore up the room. So we are now in our new studio for our second show in this new studio, and I hope it goes well. I think we fixed a lot of things from last time. So speaking of ANX Quickcast, we will, even though it's been old, it's been a while, we will finish Star Trek Discovery.
For sure.
It will go down. We will finish those episodes. Don't worry.
It will go down.
Yeah. But speaking of Star Trek Discovery, same rules apply here. We're doing Agatha All Along. If you are misogynistic, racist, or homophobic, go ahead and just exit right now. Go ahead and unsubscribe from our channel.
Yeah, we don't need that energy.
Yeah, so the same rules apply. So if any of those, if you simply don't like things just for those reasons, we don't need you to be here. If you don't like it because it sucks, now we can have a conversation.
Yeah, but
right.
Come with it.
Right. So anyway, speaking of Agatha All Along, what is this about?
Well, let's see. According to the Google machine here,
Okay.
This it's after the events of WandaVision.
Okay, I heard of it.
Yep, been a few years.
Yeah.
Agatha Harkness recruits some unlikely allies on her quest to regain her former powers and uncover the secrets of the Darkhold.
Okay. So, WandaVision. I think, so we had a conversation with Ray on ANX Weekly Update or the ANX Gamecast, one of those shows. I was not excited about this.
Yeah.
Simply because it took too long to come out.
Yeah, it took a long time.
And I think that's what's wrong and what's why these streaming services are struggling. You have short mini series that cost the same or not, maybe not the same as a movie, but in some cases the same as a movie. And it people binge watch them, and you can't keep them subscribed to the platform for very long. And then it takes you years and years and years to come up with something to follow up.
Yeah, and y'all ended WandaVision with this. So y'all should have already been working on this.
Yeah. Now, to be fair, at the time of this recording, we have not watched the whole series. Obviously, it's not out. The whole series is not out yet. So there could be a specific reason at the end that makes it make sense that they didn't put it out, 2 years ago.
Right.
But the problem with me is it's not that there's too much content, because we've heard that argument from many people before. They're putting out too much content. It happened too long ago. I don't remember the specifics.
Yeah, for real.
And I'm not, even though it's a mini series, I'm not going back to rewatch to make this make sense.
I know. I kind of wanted to.
A little bit, but it's just like, we got Penguin out.
I know there's so much.
We got Joker coming. We got Venom coming.
We got to catch up on Discovery.
We got to catch up on Discovery, and then we got the Acolyte, which we're gonna do that too. So I just wanted to get that out of the way. I was not excited for this. So if there's any bias, that's where it would come from.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and start off with 3 things we liked or didn't like. Where you want to start?
We can
about
start with
episode 1.
Okay. You want me to go?
Sure. Go ahead.
Okay. So I did like the character and story development. Kind of the introduction. There was, when it starts, it's like you have no idea what's going on. Because last time we saw Catherine Hahn, so to speak, or whatever, she was Agnes. So, I mean, she was in black and white. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. She might have been in color at that last, regardless, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, what's she doing? She's a detective. Like, why is she so obsessed with this dead person? Why is she hiding evidence? Like, there's a lot of, you're trying to figure out what's going on. So that's kind of intriguing.
So I can't say that I necessarily liked the character development. I don't think there was a lot of character development. So that kind of goes into one of the things that I didn't like, which was minimal character introductions. However, so I'll save that for later. But what I will say is I did like the fact that there were very subtle hints that it was very clear that they were in an alternate reality.
Yeah.
So I don't want to say very clear. That I want to take that back, but some of the things were so lame, where it's like, this has to be fake.
Yeah.
Right. And if I don't really remember all the specifics from WandaVision, I do remember that they were all in a fake town. An alternate reality town. So but I like that about this.
Yeah.
That it was there, but they weren't telling you it was it, and you can kind of tell. So one of the main things is, for example, it was that episode 1? Episode 1 and 2 gets blurry. But there was just certain things where she was being a detective and certain things she was saying. And when she got out of the car to go to work with the donut in her mouth, and it was just all these weird cliches of being a cop.
Yeah.
Right. So that gave me the impression this is not real. This is someone's interpretation of what it would be like to be a detective in a small town.
Yeah.
Based off probably what you saw on TV. And so it's just like that being reenacted, but it was kind of off.
Even the way they were talking to each other, her and the other detective at the crime scene, when they were walking through the woods and they were having that conversation, like, what's the story? What's the scene?
Right. It was, yeah.
It almost seemed like a fake, because it's like, you look like you're acting like a drama crime series. Like, is this SVU?
Right.
Because
it was something trying to impersonate a SVU.
Yeah.
Like scene.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I did like that. So, I don't know. Do I go again? Do you go? How do we do this?
Well, let me say this.
Okay.
Because I have 2 likes, but they're really intertwined. And so I do agree with you that there wasn't a ton of character development, but I think maybe what I'm tying that into is there was a lot of, I don't know if teaser is the right word, but like, what is going on? And you're trying to kind of figure out what is happening here because of weird stuff like that. Because when we see Aubrey Plaza introduced as FBI agent Rio or whatever, you're like, there's something happening. Like, at first it seems like there's just a history. You don't like each other. But then later when she comes over and she's like, do you remember why you hate me? And you can tell it's like something's real off here. What's happening?
Yeah, they were definitely giving up more stuff towards the end of the episode.
And then like even in the library, when she goes to the library and all the books are burned.
Yeah.
And you're like, and then that weird guy was talking to her. So there's a lot, like, I kind of liked that stuff because you're like, what's happening? Like, what is happening here? And
I think we should be clear here in this first episode. I mean, like we kind of already said already. She shows up and she's a detective in Eastview. Is it
Westview?
Is it Westview? Eastview is a thing though, apparently. And apparently she's on leave.
Right, because she like hit somebody or
punched one of the suspects, or
they were in handcuffs,
something.
Yeah.
But they call her back in because they found a girl dead in the woods. Okay. And so that's where we go, and then Aubrey Plaza comes in as the FBI who's coming in to help, and apparently they know each other and have a history.
Right.
So I guess I'll do another thing that I like.
Yep.
I liked it. Okay. So to me, this first episode was kind of boring.
Yes. That's on my dislikes.
Right. But the fact that episode 2 was available day 1. So it's not necessarily about the first episode, but the follow up with a bit of a teaser. You didn't have to have a big cliffhanger type deal at the end because episode 2 was already available. Right. So that was one other thing that I liked. And as we can see on the screen here, this was not made by Marvel Studios. This was made by Marvel Television.
Oh.
So it's not, I'm not going to pretend like I've done all the research and I know everything that's going on with that. And if there's budget constraints and blah, blah, blah. However, generally speaking, it is cheaper to make television shows than movies.
Mm-hmm.
I would assume that these shows will now have a smaller budget, right, to be more manageable. Even though we got no special effects, which is one of the things I didn't like. So I'm just kind of all over the place. There was like literally no special effects in this first episode. Even though we didn't get any special effects, the show itself didn't feel cheap.
Okay.
Right? It didn't sound cheap. It didn't look cheap. It didn't feel cheap.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the thing I liked about it. Like, okay, just Marvel television, again, probably a lower budget, but so far, okay. The only thing that I saw that was cheap was when, was it her and Aubrey Plaza fighting at the end of that episode?
Yes.
And she kind of flew over to her looking like she was on one of those cable deals, and like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. That part looked cheap. But generally speaking, the rest of the show was fine. Or
was that the beginning of 2?
I don't know.
I know they blend together.
They blend together.
I will say one thing that I thought looked cheap.
Oh.
I do agree. Like, it, generally speaking, it's good quality. And maybe I'm being petty here, but what looked cheap to me was like the houses. It literally looked like this was shot on a lot. And usually shows are shot on lots all the time, but you can't really tell. It looks like a neighborhood.
Well, so this is what I was thinking while we were watching it. I think one of the worst things we probably could have done was visit the lot.
Yeah.
Because now I see things
differently. Like, you notice things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we went to the WB lot. I'm not saying this was shot at the WB lot, even though they do shoot for other studios at different lots and they whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, now things look super fake, and now with the especially with the higher quality cameras and stuff that's being put out, things look more fake to me because I've seen what the fakeness looks like up close.
I know, and I thought about that too. I thought, is my brain ruined now from going to the Warner Brothers lot, because now I notice it more. So yeah, it could just be me.
I mean, not that I saw this in the show, but from the fact that they showed us that basically the leaves are zip tied to the trees.
Yeah.
There's no leaves on any of the trees on the lots. When it's time, they just go zip tie leaves and green leaves to the trees and make it look full. Like, yeah, we saw a lot.
Yeah.
We saw a lot. So, it's not that I thought that any of the houses were fake. It's just the houses, especially for them to be so old, were too kind of perfect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Perfect paint job, stuff like that. I talked about no special effects. Let me just look at my notes here. The fact that I knew it was witchy, even though they weren't doing the witchy stuff, and they didn't really start talking about witchy stuff until the end of the episode. And I think this is going to go for some of the other episodes too. It felt like a Northern Exposure meets Charmed.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like. The town that they're set in, it looked, it doesn't necessarily remind me of WandaVision because it was all dark and gloomy and they were in the trees. It looked like they were in the mountains, in the woods. It just felt like something, I don't know, but I was just like, I'm not. And then I guess the other thing that caught me too, I'm kind of jumping all over the place, where I knew it wasn't real is when they said something about TikTok, even though they were driving around in police cars that looked like they were from the 90s. The houses looked like they were from the 50s, which made sense based off what was going on in WandaVision.
Yeah.
But then like the cars looked like they were from the 90s. And then she said something about TikTok. So I was just like, that's the first thing that caught me, like, what's going on here?
Yeah. I didn't, let me just say this.
Okay.
I am a big fan of Catherine Hahn, have been since the early 2000s. Okay.
Okay.
And Aubrey Plaza. Okay. Parks and Rec. Hello. I love her. But I did not like the acting in this episode. I was just like, I just don't like what's happening here. And I can't tell if it's bad acting or I just don't like it. I don't know. But
so for Catherine Hahn, I think it was a attempt, like we just talked about, to act like a detective in a small town up in the woods.
But she was just like flip-flopping her personality all over the place. And it felt so like forced sometimes. I was just like, and I think she's a good actress. So I'm just like, what is happening?
I mean, I didn't necessarily see any bad acting. I saw some characters I didn't necessarily like. I don't really care for her detective character. But
like when she
I
went to
wouldn't.
the library and she's like, oh, and she starts like making a scene. I'm like, she flips around from like country to, or like from Minnesota, or like to all serious to like.
But again, that could just be the part of I'm pretending to be like the cops I see on TV.
Yeah, and maybe that shows range. I don't know, but it's just something about it. I was like, I'm not loving this.
And it's the humor. Is that dry humor where it's like somebody say something funny, but it's not really laugh out loud funny?
That's like Aubrey Plaza, like 100%.
Oh, well, I got that more from her. I got it more from Catherine Hahn. Aubrey Plaza's character.
She's like, at least in Parks and Rec, she was so dry humor, like all the time.
Yeah. Her character in this one so far is just, I don't want to say she was a bad actor, but it wasn't like good.
Yeah, it wasn't good.
But I mean, I wouldn't have said she was good in like Parks and Rec as like a good actor.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't have like pegged her as like, oh yeah, she was a great actress in Parks and Rec. Like I wouldn't have said that. So I really wasn't expecting a whole lot from her. She gave me kind of what I expected, just acting like her in the places that I've seen her before. So I was like, whatever, that's fine.
Well, let me tell you what the last thing I liked.
Okay.
The ending. So she goes to the morgue or the coroner's whatever office, whatever it's called, the coroner.
Yeah.
And the toe tag, which is also like the checkout, for the book, reveals Wanda Maximoff. I'm like, wait, what? So at first I was confused. I mean, I'm still a little confused because I'm like, are you saying that dead body is Wanda Maximoff because it's like the toe tag? Or are you saying Wanda checked out the book? Well, I guess that's the same because the person checked out the book. So I'm like, oh my God. Anyway, and then when Aubrey Plaza's like, get out, whatever she says, those words like get out, come out of it. And she goes through all like the costume changes. And then we see her in the black and white like she was in WandaVision. I did like that. Yeah,
that was cool. And I had already jumped into the part that I didn't like. So let me tell you the last thing that I didn't like. Get to the witching.
Get to it.
Get to the witching. I mean, you promote this as witchy witch, witches everywhere, all this witch stuff, right? Get to the witching. It's a mini series. There's only 9 episodes. Yeah. So you kind of waste one whole episode with no witching. So that I didn't necessarily like that.
Yeah.
So anyway, what else you got? That's it?
Yeah, I mean, the other thing I kind of already mentioned, I didn't really like the story. So I feel like I sound very contradictory because I'm like, I like the character development. Well, they didn't really character, but they did this and teases and you're trying to figure out, and I didn't really like the story. It's kind of boring. I guess I was kind of all over the place with this episode. Like I didn't like it that much, but I didn't hate it. It was like, where's this going?
If episode 2 was not readily available day 1,
yeah,
I may not have continued to watch the show based off the first episode.
Yeah, it was not one that was gonna like really grab you.
No. So which is probably why they did what they
had to put 2 out. Yeah,
went ahead and put 2 out. So yeah.
All right, ready to wrap it up?
Let's do it.
All right, that's it for today, guys. Thanks for listening to ANX Quickcast. If you enjoyed the show, please make sure you like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you'll be the first to know when we release new episodes. See you next time.
Hello.